Yo, yo, my sovereigns, what up? This is Boba Fett, uncensored on the internet, with episode 23 of Splinterlands 101. Usual co-hosts of the show, one of the finest gentlemen who ever lived, Matt Clark.
Here's Matt Clark. He's one of the finest gentlemen that ever lived.
I thought it was the sexiest.
We can go with that. If Matt can have a quick word with aggro before the next town hall, and we can get that on the clip, we'll definitely run with that. But in the meantime, one of the sexiest gentlemen who ever lived, Geotrix.
Oh, thanks.
You brought it up. And a special guest on the show for this episode, touching on something we've never touched on before. So this is going to be really interesting. If you've watched previous episodes, you know we've had investors, we've had gamers, we've had coders, and something we've never really touched on, but for a big attraction to card collectors in general is the lore. So we've invited onto the show G Vassal, who goes by George, and he's going to share with us like some of the amazing compilation work that he's put together from scattered remnants all over the place into one piece to talk about the lore of Splinterlands. George, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So before we touch on to the lore, just a bit of background. It's always good to know where people have come from. How did you find Splinterlands? Was that your introduction to crypto? Were you into crypto first and then the blockchain? How did you come to be on Splinterlands?
So Splinterlands was actually my introduction to crypto, and the way I found Splinterlands was through an article written in the Motley Fool, I believe, from Taylor Carmichael. So I didn't actually find this article myself, but a friend of mine who actually plays the game, his in-game name is Xipo13, CEPO13. So Xipo13, yeah, thanks. So Xipo13 sent me an article from Taylor Carmichael saying, hey, check this out. Check this game out, what this guy is saying. So I read the article by Taylor Carmichael, which, to be honest, it was too good to be true. The way Taylor wrote about Splinterlands. So I initially told him that, I don't know, we'll see. And we ended up buying spell books, and then we ended up buying assets in the game, little by little. And well, now here I am, reading the lore of the game and spending a huge part of my life playing the game or studying the lore. So, life can get you places when you don't expect it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's how I found Splinterlands. And I don't regret a single day ever since then that I've spent on Splinterlands.
And what league are you playing in at the moment, George?
It's gold. It's gold. I finished in gold 1, and I will play in gold 1 for the time being, because I intend to stay in that league until I figure out what's happening and what's more profitable to climb up, which I don't have a competitive diamond deck. So for the time being, I'm staying in gold.
All right. I'm par with myself then. And, we watch people like Matt and Geo battle each other, and that's a deterrent enough for me to stay in gold. For the time
hey, I'm
being.
there too. Yeah, I think I'll stay in gold now as well. We have a lot to talk about, obviously, with the reward changes. But yeah, anyway, as you were saying, George.
So yeah, that's the league I'm playing in. I keep building my deck. I am what I would call a Chaos Legion player, because I haven't bought the old legendary summoners due to their higher costs. So I'm patiently waiting for the new legendary summoners to come to the game. And so I have limited myself to a Chaos Legion deck. So therefore, that puts a certain limit to to how much I can climb, because when you go higher in the leaderboard, you face some serious competition from players that have everything. And I don't have a competitive diamond deck, so I chose strategically to stay in gold until I have more cards.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm
That's
in an
smart.
awkward position where I've got sort of some of the old original cards and some chaos cards, because I'm actually hodling my packs at the moment until the airdrop's finished before I open my chaos packs. So I sort of have a bit of a 50-50 sort of play, which again, not enough to compete at in the diamond level. And just for those wondering about your accent, you want to share where you are on this realm of ours?
Yes, of course. If it was aggroed here, I would say I'm from Oklahoma, but I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm from Greece. So hence my accent.
That's exactly what our Grover would say. Yeah, he always drops out Oklahoma. All right, so Gio, I know you were busting with some questions for George, so why don't you take the lead then?
I would like to take a moment to give you a background of how I ended up here.
Please.
Yes.
I actually tried to, believe it or not, to steal Geotrix from you if you're in the same guild. If that's the case, I don't know. Because some time ago we had I'm in a guild called Praetorians, and we had an open spot. And I didn't want to go and advertise the guild randomly on Discord. So I was just going through the Discord, and it was Geotrix that something said, which I don't remember right now. But I thought to myself, okay, that guy would probably be a great addition to the guild. And I sent him a message, and we started, a private chat talking about guilds and whatnot, and that's how Geotrix found out about my lore obsession, and I shared the PDF which has all the lore stories in it. So then that's how I got to meet digitally Geotrix, and then Geotrix invited me to the show, and I'm more than glad to be here. So Geotrix, I'm all yours for the lore stuff.
Dude, thank you, man. Yeah, we met over something really funny. I forgot what was said, but it was just the most hilarious thing, and I'm sure it was immature, highly immature, but it was yeah. I know, shock, horror. Yeah, dude, look, I want to get into like the conspiracy theory sort of stuff in regards to the lore, and that's what I'm interested in. Like, what could possibly come from the readings within the lore and how that could translate into later editions of lore, story, how the game will be played out or whatever, man. I just want to pick your brain about that, how you see things progressing on that front. Oh, I mean, this is all speculation. So,
of course,
man, wherever your mind takes you on the lore journey, I'd like to know, yeah. And how?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a word of caution: I may get carried away while I'm talking about the lore because these are great stories, and I have some ideas about them. So please interrupt me when you feel it's I'm getting ahead of myself. I'd like to make an introduction to the lore. There are many people on Discord saying that, I don't read the lore, I don't bother with fairy tales and things like that. Which, okay, I respect that, but, everything in life, if you come to think about it, is stories, right? I read this idea in a book the book is called Homo Deus, and was written by Yuval Noah Harari. And maybe he got it elsewhere, but I read this idea from him that what separates humans from animals is the fact that we tell stories to ourselves and we have the ability to believe these stories. And I don't want to go further into it, but if you think money is the most, probably one of the most important stories that we tell ourselves and believe in. We go around carrying papers and credit cards, and because we collectively believe in this story, we assign value to money, and we go ahead with our lives using these things. But this is a story, if we stop believing in this story, everything will come down crashing. So I don't say we should take lore literally and believe in the lore, but we could definitely enjoy it and not treat it as fairy tales, because after all, everything is a story in life. So having said
that's really insightful. One of the Hive witnesses says the same thing. Luke Stokes very clever man who spent a lot of time thinking about these things. And he says exactly the same thing. Money is shared storytelling.
Yeah.
He tells the story of an archipelago, group of islands with tribes, and they live spread out across but they're all sort of one group. And he said they had big, massive boulders on these islands, and they would assign ownership to those boulders. And that's, you know, they had other stuff, shells or whatever, but when you were really moved in big, you know, being a whale was having one of these boulders. And they were shipping, at one point they tried to ship one of these boulders from one island to another, and it sunk. Took the boat to the bottom of the ocean, and, you know, it's down 30, 40 meters deep. And it didn't bother them at all. That wasn't lost wealth. They would just point out to sea and say, I own the boulder that's out there. So you couldn't see it, you couldn't move it, but everybody just knew and agreed that it was there, so it counted as wealth. And I think that's a really funny way of pointing out it is just exactly that, shared storytelling. So that's very insightful. I'm keen to hear more.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. And
Thank you
Gio and I
for-
talk all the time on history. You know, what people believe in history, but it's just someone's story. And more so, if you're studying history, we don't know anything about the authors that wrote those stories. So yeah, we're all on the same page there, George. Yeah, we're all on the same page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So having defended the lore against the the people that disrespect it, I have to admit that I wasn't watching the lore videos for quite some time. And at some point I had watched enough YouTube videos from the streamers, and I said, okay, now that I'm driving my car, why don't I listen to this story? It was the story Evasion with Nerissa Tridon. Not necessarily the best story, but that's what got me into the lore. Because when I read to that story, I realized that, okay, this is good. They're putting some significant amount of work to make this video. You know, they have an actor, and what the actor is doing is great, by the way, to do all these different voices. It's not easy when you're reading a story. So I came to the realization that they put a lot of work into it. And then I began listening to the rest of the stories and reading the stories, and hearing Nate talk on the town halls about these things. And the way he talked about these things, they don't strike me as the people that they just do it randomly. They don't strike me as the people that that just do it superficially. And when I was reading the stories, I was always asking myself, okay, why did they give this name to this mountain? Or why did they give this name to this character, or to this village, or to this stone? So once I went through this procedure of picturing these guys in an office discussing about the lore and giving names to different things, I realized that, okay, and as I said, having heard Nate talk about these things on the town halls, I realized that these guys probably don't do this randomly. They put some things in there that are not random. So this made the lore a whole lot more interesting for me, because I suddenly started finding some new meaning in the stories, and you know, some interpretations, which I have to say, these are my personal ideas. It doesn't mean that everyone will share my views, or that will come to, you know, or that the game will eventually come to be what I believe will happen through the lore stories. So without further ado, if you want, I can give you some clues from the lore stories, or if there are no questions. Or so a big part of the lore is it has hints in there regarding the land expansion, the upcoming land expansion, which is going to be huge. So I have found hints in many stories that probably tell us or hint to us what's probably coming in the land expansion. Can I share my screen, or?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, this is sick. Like,
so I put together a document. This is not the PDF that I've sent Geotrix with the lore stories. These are just random ideas that have come to me while reading the stories. So the first thing I should probably say is, let's see how we can view this on full screen. Okay. Okay, so the blue lines is the idea that I will talk about, and so we have ley lines, we have the land expansion, and further on we have some the node licenses,
Wow.
the Splinterlands world, the boss fights, and the Steam speculation. I won't go into that because we can talk later about this, but I won't talk about the Steam speculation that could be in the lore. So let's get through the ley lines, which is short. In one of the first stories, the voice, there is a Silas of the Rift, and which says that there is deep magic in here. The ley lines thrive with overflowing energy. Do you know how to harness it? And then he points to Dr. Blight, Alastair in the story, before turning into Dr. Blight, saying that this is one of the ley lines, a powerful one, embrace it, the power is yours for the taking. So what are ley lines in general? For those who don't know, ley lines are straight alignments which are drawn between various historic structures and prominent landmarks. So we have some clue in one of the first stories that the Splinterlands world is full of ley lines that connect the various important landmarks of the Splinterlands world. Now, as I said, you may interrupt me at any point and we can expand on some topic further if you want. Now, what could be the important landmarks of the Splinterlands world? Well, if we go to the, let's see. If we go to the Splinterlands map, let's do something better. Maps. So this is the map that they have shared with us. I didn't want this one, the original one. This is the map that the Splinterlands team has shared with us for the upcoming land expansion. And this is not final, but this is work in progress. So while I was looking at this map, I realized that we have, of course, the very, very important Mount Praetorus at the very center, but we have mountains extending from Mount Praetorus to different directions, which I will now, I'm pointing my mouse on them, but I will share another map to make it even clearer, an older map that someone posted on Discord. So see, this is an older map of Praetoria. So you see again in the center Mount Praetorus, and here it is very, it is more visible that we have mountain ranges extending in all directions. So we have some, this could be, these mountain ranges and what's at the end of them could be important landmarks of the Splinterlands world, at least in Praetoria. So the ley lines could be lines beginning from Mount Praetorus and extending to these mountain tops and even further. Now, one of the ideas that has occurred to me is that these mountain ranges or the mountain tops at the very end could have something Splinter specific to them, because if you take a look at the general, let me open it, older map of the Splinterlands world, when we didn't have the name Praetoria, you can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is an old map from the website Splinterlore. So we don't have the name Praetoria in here, but it's this island in the middle. So as you can see, we have Praetoria in the middle and all the various continents for the other splinters surrounding Praetoria. So these mountain ranges that begin from Mount Praetorus and extend to various directions could in fact point to the different continents of the Splinterlands world, like the Burning Lands, Mortis, Anumun, Chimeria, or whatnot. So these mountains could have something specific to them. And I believe that the mountain structures of Praetoria is not random at all from the maps that I see. So a small break over there before I go into the land expansion details. I don't know if these things seem plausible from the Splinterlands map before we dive in further.
At this point, like, you know, this is all like wow stuff for me so far. So yeah, keep going.
So I can. Regarding the land expansion, I don't have to go through the text. If you want, I can stop sharing the screen and discuss about this in, you know, with
Yeah, sure.
What's your preference for?
Happy
Yeah, let's.
to go along with where you see yourself going, how you want to present it, because
Okay, awesome.
I feel like it'd be a waste not to talk about it in the way that you want to talk about it. Look at all the effort you've gone through, man. Like, I'm just gonna shut up. That's all. Shut up.
Okay, so the last thing from the document before we go back live is that before I stop sharing, that is that here on the right we have the old map of Praetoria with the mountain ranges, and on the left we have the map that they have shared with us officially, although it's not final. And I have put circles all around the mountain tops where these mountain ranges end. So these places in Praetoria could be of special interest. So what interest that may be, I believe that this could have something to do with the obelisks. I will stop sharing here, and I will continue, using the document or the notes. So these mountains, I believe they have something to do with the obelisks and the obelisk shield. Now, there was a story that they published some time ago called the Obelisk Shield Part 1. And unfortunately, they still haven't published the Obelisk Shield Part 2, which would be very interesting because they gave us many hints in the Obelisk Shield Part 1, but I was eagerly expecting the Part 2 of the story to figure out what's going on, but that hasn't happened yet. So in the Obelisk Shield Part 1, there is this character, which means, well, another character, the names escape me now, but one of them says that we have been working to bring the Obelisk Shield online, but the Chaos Legion scouts are everywhere. There are so few of us left, and blah, blah, blah. And then he says, there is a legend long ago that our ancestors built the Obelisk Shield to tap the pure concentrated mana of the Splinterlands. It worked like this. Magic-infused stones were crafted and given to the mightiest of heroes. So when we go through this, you should probably think of ourselves as the ones dealing with these stones. The mightiest of heroes could be like the best players of the Splinterlands in the land expansion, gathering these stones. So these heroes use their stones to create a network connected to 8 obelisks. The number 8 is of importance here. The network wove a shield of mana across the world, ensuring the fabric of reality remained intact and the rifts remained sealed. And then he says that one of those obelisks is buried deep beneath this mountain, which is Mount Praetorius. The stones are gone, lost to time and memory, and that's what we've been searching for. The components we need to craft more stones, because if we can get the obelisk shield online again, we can protect Praetoria and so on. So he mentions Ataka, this character in the story, Obelisk Shield. He mentions 8 obelisks, and the mountain ranges in Praetoria are 8 in number. So it stands to reason to think that the number 8 is not random, that there will be an obelisk shield at the very end of each one of those mountain ranges. Now, Ataka says that if we can bring the obelisk shield back online, Praetoria will be safe from the Chaos Legion forces. So what happened in general in the lore is that for some reason or another, the obelisk shield came down, and then the forces of evil, the forces of Chaos Legion, were able to invade Praetoria, and then all things were crazy. Chaos erupted in the world. So the reason why the obelisk shield went down has probably something to do with the wizards. Now, the wizards of Splinterlands, we know 2 of them in person are Agrod and Yabamat. In the lore, we meet them as Agrodius Lightbringer and Yabanius the Architect. But there are more. There were more in the original Wizards Council. There was Portia and Archmage Arius, we know him from the game, and another one as well. We can talk more about that later. I have it in the Steam speculation chapter. But anyways, what happened is that this Wizards Council was broken apart, probably from Portia working with, collaborating with someone from another world, be it Silas of the Rift or Gadul, or we will find out, probably Silas of the Rift. So once the Wizards Council fell apart, then Chaos Legion was able to invade Praetoria, and this is what we're watching right now, the fight of Chaos Legion with Praetorians. So we have the Chaos Legion edition of the cards, then we will get Rift Watchers in a couple of weeks or in a couple of months, and it will be interesting to see in the lore what or who the Rift Watchers are. Are they people that are trying to keep the Rift open so that more Chaos Legion forces will invade the world? Or are they people that are trying to bring the shield back online so that the Rift will eventually close and no more Chaos Legion will be able to invade Praetoria? And then we have the next edition in the game, which will be called Rebellion. And I suppose that Rebellion will be, well, the rebellion of Praetorians defending or trying to claim their land back from the forces of evil, from Chaos Legion. So if these things make sense, then the Obelisk Shield is something that fell apart when the Wizards Council was broken from the works of Portia and maybe more people, and the people in Praetoria or us in the land expansion would probably try to bring the shield back online to protect more forces of Chaos Legion from invading. I don't know how this will play out in the actual land expansion, but from something that Joy said, the narrative lead on Discord, the Obelisk Shield probably has something also to do with the node licenses. Meaning that if you take a look at the page where the node licenses are being sold currently, you will see the artwork over there, which has some obelisks which are emitting light to the sky. So the Obelisk Shield could be something that somehow works or is functional because of the licenses of running the node licenses. Now, why, you may ask, or why is that in the lore? Well, one should ask why we need the node licenses as a game in order to be, let's call it safer as a blockchain game. So if we ask ourselves this question, why do we need the licenses in the first place, then it may sound more reasonable that the Obelisk Shield is something that will come online when the licenses are active and running, and actually when they are running decentralized in every part of the world. So when this happens, then the Splinterlands world will hopefully be safer from outer harm. Now, I don't know what this outer harm could be. It could be hackers like the ones that attacked Axie Infinity, or it could be something way more powerful, this god Ul that's trying to invade Splinterlands. I don't want to, it's easy to get carried away with these things, but yeah. It could be hackers, the ones that are that could attack Splinterlands. It could be some central agency trying to regulate crypto, So I don't know what these outer forces are that could harm Splinterlands, but everyone is free to interpret the lore as he wants.
Yeah, my mind is just blown looking at all of those pieces coming together, and the way that you've analyzed and analogized, drawn the analogy to what's happening real time in the game. It's just explosion after explosion in my mind, and I also see it parallel. One of my greatest areas of research for the last couple of years at least has been on the ancient civilization of Tartaria, which has been removed from our history. And I'm looking like the map of the Splinterlands, and it looks just like the map of Greater Tartaria. And when you're talking about the obelisks and the power, the shields being brought down, this is the ancient technology, the spires and the Gothic cathedrals of ancient Tartaria being a defense network. And the world we live in right now, Because back in Tartaria, free energy was abundant. All the architecture technology was for that. We were invaded by some force external to us, to our realm, that's currently in control right now. So I've got that parallel running, the game parallel running, your lore running, and my mind is just going boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so I the only two words I can think of are like mind blown. Anyone got anything they want to pitch in or ask before we give the floor back to George? No, floor's yours, George.
I'm quite happy.
Okay, I will continue if you don't mind a little bit more with the land expansion and what's to expect.
Yeah.
You know, by reading the lore. So there is this lore story called Insights, which is interesting because, you know, it gives us insights probably on what's coming. So they named the story Insights, and what goes on in this story is that three characters, Bera, River Halliday from the card, and Fia, they approach a village on Praetoria. This village is called Kainek village, and it is a village where they mine a particular stone which is named, like the village, Kaine stone. So in this story, I will read just a sentence, just apart from this story. It says that we don't know what this story. We have to do research. Research was being conducted to find out how else the stone could be used. So we have this village, Kainek, which produces this Kaine stone, which I did a little research on the internet, and the word Kaine, because as I said, if you get into the spirit of, you know, the Splinterlands creative team not doing things at random, then you have a certain faith that these people probably took, you know, inspiration from somewhere. So that makes it way more interesting to search and find out why they name things the way they name them. So Kaine means, according to the internet, three things: acquired, spear, or battle. I would vote for the second meaning, the spear. I settled on this interpretation because of something that I read in another story. So Kaine stone is a stone that we will mine probably in the land expansion. The interesting thing is that Kaine stone didn't exist in the original pre-sale land pre-sale post. We had a whole different names for the stones there, but not Kaine stone. So this is new. Kaine stone will probably be used to forge items, which will be one of these items could be spears, really powerful spears that we could use in battles. And moving on to another story, which is called Understanding, the characters in the story Understanding say the following regarding Kaine stone. What is important about the Kaine stone? Now I'm reading from the story. It's a recent discovery in this region, the Red Hills. The people here have begun to mine it. It is rich in mana and makes the land fertile. The Zenith scale, however, fears it can be used for a different purpose in the hands of the Chaos Legion, perhaps as an agent to make their spell casting more powerful. It looks like, so we have two more clues in the stories and in the story Understanding, that the Kaine stone is rich in mana. It makes the land fertile, so we will probably be able to choose whether we use these stones to increase the production of our land plots, or, as the story says, it could be an agent to make the spell casting more powerful. Maybe this is I don't know if this is a Chaos Legion only thing, but it could make the land more fertile. It could be used to forge items like spears, given its name, or it could be used to enhance the spells of certain splinters. And I say certain splinters because in another story later on, the story Defenders, let's see, it's in the story, let's see, sorry for that, it's have it all over the place. So in the story Defenders, the characters say, so what happens in the story Defenders is that, and sorry if I will try not to spoil it for you if you haven't read it, Obsidian, the Chaos Legion summoner, you know, that we have for the Earth Splinter is besieging a village, the Kainek village. And Bera Dalin, which we haven't seen her yet as a card, she's a dwarf, which is yet to come in the game as a playable character, asks, what demands has Obsidian made? And the answer is from the people of Kainek village, our complete and total surrender, our Kaine stone mine, and all research assets involving Kaine stone. I truly do not know what she wishes it for. It has amplification properties of earth and fire mana. We use it to enhance our farmlands. So Obsidian, from what it seems, is after Kaine stone because this stone has amplification properties for the earth and the fire splinter. So to sum it all up, Kaine stone will probably enhance the spell casting abilities of the earth or the fire splinter. It can be used in certain parts of Praetoria for certain land plots to enhance their production, and probably it will be also used to create items if you want it, like spears. I use this speculation based on the name Kaine stone, which Kaine, one of the meanings of Kaine is spear. And another clue that led me to this is one of the very recent stories, which is called Defenders. So what happens in this story is that Obsidian's apprentice, which is called Vassar or Vassar, I don't know how they pronounce this name, goes into this Kainek mine where is abundant with this Kaine stone, and then he is transformed with the help of Obsidian's magical powers into a huge elemental beast. I don't want to spoil the story for you, but the way the people of the Kainek village defend their village against this huge elemental creature, which is a transformation of Vassar, is by using something which, according to me, is like a huge spear, maybe, you know, that they used so that this creature kind of fell on it, and that was the only way they were able to defeat it. So that's yet another clue that Kaine stones may be usable in a sense that we can use it to make items that we'll be able to use in battles. Now, while we're talking about Vassar, this elemental beast is immune to arrows. They tried hitting him with arrows and they couldn't get through him. So arrows will not be able to do very much against Vassar. But who is Vassar? Vassar is, this is an idea that hit me when I read these stories, that Vassar could be one of the future boss fights that we see in the game. Now, boss fights are something that was brought to the game as an idea long ago and hasn't been implemented yet. And the first boss fights will be bosses that will be created, if I'm not mistaken, Matt can correct me on this, from players that have I don't know how it happened back then, but have purchased the right to. Yes, an auction.
We've had the winner on the show, which was Exile.
Awesome. So he's waiting for boss fights, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Matt, you don't have a boss assigned to you to do
No.
design, do you? Okay.
No.
Just have to rub it in. Just.
So the first bosses will be, created probably from Splinterlands players that took part in this auction, but that certainly doesn't stop according to me at least, the Splinterlands team from slightly introducing the idea of boss fights through the lore. Because, Vassar, Obsidian's apprentice, does not exist yet as a card. And what happened is that he goes in the Kainek mine and he's transformed into an elemental beast. There's no such thing in Splinterlands yet, like an ability to transform a card into a whole different card, an elemental card. So we don't have that yet, and unless they bring such an ability, which will be very strange, the transformation of an actual card during a battle, I see Vassar as a possible boss fight in the future when we, stroll around Praetoria near the Kainek village or the Kainek mine. And if that's the case, the way to defeat, I will say this now, and to keep that in mind if that ever happens, the way to defeat Vassar is to use items that we will have created in the land expansion made of Kainek stone, like huge spears or what else. So that's a speculation with regards to the Kainek stone.
Interestingly too, Wasser is German for water. And in the Latin, you have Tasa is cup and Vaso is glass. So you've got a Tasa, cup, Vaso, glass, put them together with maybe a chalice, and Wasser, German for water, could have maybe a water sort of splinter there, maybe. Just, I don't know.
Okay, this is crazy. Now you will make me go back and study the actual cards that we have. You know, instead of the lore stories themselves, I have to do some studying of the cards also. It hadn't occurred to me that the names on the cards could also have their own significance, you know, in terms of the Splinterlands universe. And I'd like to take this moment to say something more about the Splinterlands universe and the lore. You know, if Splinterlands grows to what we hope it will be in the future, okay, if Splinterlands doesn't exist in 5 years from now, then lore will probably be irrelevant. You know, only a few of us will remember it and maybe read it then. But if this isn't the case and Splinterlands grows and grows as a game and as a community, we are in the very privileged position to have the possibility to understand and grasp the lore aspect of this universe from the very early stages. Because, you know, imagine trying to study the Star Wars books or the Star Wars universe now, you know, decades after they were first introduced. You can do it, but you will have to spend, you know, months or maybe years trying to read everything. So we're in the privileged position to be here from the beginning. So I don't say that everyone should read the lore, but if someone is into, you know, reading fiction books or literature in general, this is a great time to start, because if Splinterlands does grow, then we, you know, it's awesome. I can't tell you how much I envy the guys that were able to leave these things during the development, like the Star Wars or the Witcher books when they all began, before they became really what they are right now. So this is, you know, if we believe that Splinterlands will keep growing, this is a great time to get a hold of this universe and you know, all the different pieces of it. That's the way I see it. You know, that's so that's about Kainek Stone. And what's interesting is that this week we had well, it was quite a week for Splinterlands, and this is also true for the lore of Splinterlands. Many things happened this week. We got the new rewards. We got the previous week, we got the licenses, sales, and we also got 2 new lore stories. One of them was not in the official announcements, or it was, but in a different way. It had to do with Grandmaster Wrath. So Grandmaster Wrath is the legendary card of the legendary summoner of the Life Splinter that's coming to the game in a couple of weeks when the packs, you know, sell out. So the lore story of Grandmaster Wrath includes yet another stone that we will probably see in the land expansion, which is called Heliostone.
Hey.
So Heliostone is, what's interesting is that Heliostone was also referenced in the original land pre-sale post. So we have tangible evidence that Heliostone will be in the land expansion. What happens with Heliostone in the lore story of Grandmaster Wrath is that it was used to create a pendant that, without spoiling the story too much, this pendant, when Grandmaster Wrath's daughter, which goes by the name of Mina, was wearing this pendant, she was immune from a disease which is called in the Splinterlands, which is called the burn. There is this disease called the burn, and Mina was immune to it because, as Grandmaster Wrath found out, she was wearing this pendant. So one possible use cases of Heliostone in the land expansion is that we will be able to mine it and create items with it, not spears this time, like Kainek Stone, but maybe pendants that if we, in the second stage of the battle, if we assign these pendants to either the summoner or a particular monster, probably the second case, will put these pendants to a particular monster, it will provide immunity to this monster. That's at least my interpretation based on the Grandmaster Wrath's lore story. So that's all I had about the stones. You know, we don't have any more clues yet with other names for the resources that we will mine, which is more than enough, you know, for now, because new lore stories are coming out each week in bite-sized pieces. So we will probably have more to digest this week or the next week or the next. What's interesting is that every week they put a little something in there. So while I'm reading the stories, there is always something new for those that are, you know, for those that are following the lore. So, but as with regards to the land expansion, that's all we have for now from the lore. At least the things that I was able to spot in there.
Well, I'm pretty keen, maybe as more of these come out, to get you back on the show and share your insights on more stuff, because not only are you delivering a collective understanding, but anyone else who grasps the meaning of what you were saying, again, opinion, you know, will it go that way? We don't know, but at the beginning of any journey, there's, you know, risk, early risk is an element. Like, to have that kind of insight to prepare for what you're going to, which resources you're going to focus on, could be huge advantage in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you, because while I was studying the lore, I was in the process of creating a random Praetoria map of my own, and I realized that, you know, based on the maps that we saw before, I realized that there are certain parts of Praetoria that even the older map, which was a very early version of Praetoria, is in agreement with the map they shared with us, more or less, give or take. So the jungles are still there, the mountains are here, the lakes are in the same places. So there is some continuity in their creative process. And when the land expansion phase 1 hits, now I only have 6 plots, but so it's not like, you know, anything close to Matt's plots or regions. But but this is even more relevant for me, because having fewer plots, Matt will have an option to you know, he will have probably all kinds of land resources to work with, because he has tons of plots. But people with fewer plots, like myself, will really have to make a decision to, you know, okay, I have a jungle plot and a lake plot and a mountain plot and whatnot. What am I going to do? Should I trade my jungles for mountains or for lakes? And these decisions, if you know your way around Praetoria, if you know how Praetoria is, then this will be really important, because you know, when the land expansion hits, you will be able to trade really fast, like within a day, to get a plot in the region you want. Now, I'm not sure if all regions will have the same benefits, but for instance, if you look in the Praetoria map, I won't share my screen right now unless you really want to. If you look at the Praetoria map, in the top left corner, there is an island which is jungle only. And according to the old map, there is a hot spring next to this jungle. So this looks really like a, you know, a valuable play, not valuable, but a very interesting place in Praetoria, I might say. And there are things like that. So if also I could get a plot near one of the mountain tops that we talked about, where the obelisk shields, where the obelisks that are holding the shield are going to be, then I would opt in to, you know, trade my plots for other plots in these regions. So I totally agree that if you know, the lore or Praetoria map, you'll probably know better what to do when it comes to managing your plots.
It is interesting. Like you look at any other fandom, and there is almost zero chance that your encyclopedic knowledge of My Little Pony lore, for example, is ever going to have any real world economic benefit, right? It's just not going to. Whereas here, the better you know these stories and the better you understand, the more you're going to, like you say, recognize opportunities and be able to dive on them. And yeah, it is interesting. It's a different sort of mindset, I guess, when you have plots in the thousands rather than plots in the in the tens or so. But it's also, I think, more opportunity to make wise choices with those, like you say, with the trades. Make wise choices with the totems as well. I don't know if you've noticed anything regarding totems in your travels, but I think yeah, there's.
Did we lose? Did we lose
Looks like we
Matt?
lost. Looks like we might have lost Matt. Yeah. So picking up
We've
with
lost him.
totems, Matt's question there.
Yes.
Have you come across any lore-related interesting things on the totems, George?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a mention for totems in the lore. So there is a story called Betrayer, and this story features Portia. Now, Portia is a very fascinating character because he is one of the old of the members of the Wizard Council that probably had a lot to do in breaking the Wizard Council to pieces, and as we discussed before. And in this story, Betrayer, Portia meets with the expedition members that are going to survey the land of Praetoria and get the different land plots and excavate or whatnot. And she says in this story, Portia, this is Portia speaking, there are relics on the lands. Over the years, I have managed to collect a small number of these relics for myself, and I know the landowners will sold some as well. But there are so many more relics hidden beneath the ground, and I'm more than happy for these to be kept by whosoever excavates them. As long as I get to take my pick from the valuable hoards you're sure to find. So we have Portia in this story saying that landowners will sold some relics. She doesn't call them totems, but maybe that's another name they use in the lore for totems. And that's what happened actually. Landowners were actually had the option to buy totems as well. And but she says that there are many more hidden, that's the important thing here, many more hidden beneath the ground, and I'm more than happy to be kept by whosoever excavates them. So we will have the option by working our lands and probably upgrading our buildings to discover more and more of these totems. I'm not saying this to short the price of totems in the secondary market. I'm just, I'm just saying what I can find in the lore, right? This is not financial advice, like go and sell your totems because there will be more to go around. So yeah, but make what you want from it. But that's the only reference we have for totems in the lore, or maybe the only one. Maybe I missed something. And the other thing that I should probably take a moment talking about is the Splinterlands world, like the Splinterlands planet, because this may lead us to a possible future Splinter we may get on Splinterlands. There is discussion on Discord on whether we're going to see a new Splinter or not in the future. Mm-hmm. I hope we won't currently, because I haven't maxed my deck yet, So if another Splinter hits us either with Rift Watchers or Rebellion, I will have more cards to max. But the structure, what's interesting is that according to the old lore, and when I say the old lore, I mean the lore before the Chaos Legion edition, which you can find in the Splinter lore website. So according to the old lore and the lore that we get on in the back of the various cards in the game, if you click the lore button, then the structure of the Splinterlands planet is much like Earth's onion structure. We have various levels deep within the Splinterlands planet. So we have 4 of them. We have the core engine, the power depths, the stride, and the underworld realm. The core engine is the living core at the center of the planet, believed to be made of molten rock, which is the origin of all mana and magical power on and around the planet. The power depths directly above it is a space of densely, this is not me speaking, this is just excerpts from the lore, right? So from things that I found on the website. The power depths is a space of densely concentrated power between the stride and the core engine. Going further outside, we get the stride, which is also known as the dream splinter. So this comes again from the lore. The stride, also known as the dream splinter, is the vast area between the underworld realm and the power depths. And the underworld realm is the realm below the surface of the planet and above the stride. So we have a reference there of the stride, which is also known as the dream splinter. So a speculation here is that if we are to get another splinter in the future, it could be named the dream splinter. And as a matter of fact, even in the modern lore stories of the Chaos Legion lore, there are many or quite a few references to the Dream Warden, who is like the lord, the ruler of the stride, the lord of the Dream Splinter, if you wish. So that's two things to keep in mind, that although these are highly speculative, I don't know if we will ever get another splinter, but if we do, it will probably be the Dream Splinter.
On an interesting
At
side
least-
note, the Indigenous Australians, their lore is called the Dreaming. Their entire lore is referred to as the Dreaming. Yeah.
Dream time.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, which is that before the world came into existence, but still current. So, like within the dreaming, there is no time. So, what's happened, what is happening, and what is to happen is all together at one point in the dreaming. So that would definitely add another interesting researchable lore into the game as well. So Matt, I guess you got hit by the storm there.
Yeah, it's not good. Dropped out a bit. I'll watch on the recording and see what I missed out on there. But
we picked up on
been
the
fascinating.
totems, and we ran with your question on the totems.
Okay, good.
We were just wondering if a tree just sort of like came down on your house there and you're just gone. Like, well.
Yeah, no, it's still here, still alive. Did we
All right.
hear anything about castles at any point? Is that in there or?
No, we definitely wanted to wait for you to come back before we start talking about castles. But interesting point with your totems. George mentioned within the lore relics are discussed, and he believes there could be a relationship between the relics and the totems.
So Matt, not yet. I haven't spotted a direct or indirect reference to castles, or hinting at the possible economy. So there's no reference yet. Or well, as a matter of fact, the latest story, the lore story of Grandmaster Wrath says that Grandmaster Wrath was the son of a blacksmith, and he forged his items. But on top of that, after he was able to trade some of his items, he decided to change his trade, and instead of being a blacksmith, he became a merchant. So he chose to be a merchant instead, but that's I don't know if he's a castle owner or whatnot, but in this lore story, there are some references to trading, or a merchant selling his items all over the Splinterlands world. I have to go and read it again to tell you what the case may be. But yeah, I haven't seen anything about castles yet in the lore. But as Land Phase 1 is getting closer and closer, my guess is that we will see more of it. More references to the possible use cases of land in the lore.
Nice.
And I guess the only references to the castles are the defending of castles, of big fortresses, it's only, that's the only sort of reference I've, from what I've read, that I've seen, although I don't remember half of it, but yeah, the defending.
There are two sieges in the Splinterlands lore so far. The one is the Kainek mine, the Kainek village, where it is defending itself against the Obsidian, and the other one is the city of Ulundin, where it is defending itself against the attack of General Sloan. So the city of Ulundin, we see these sheets in the story The Black Circle, where General Sloan is attacking the city of Ulundin. I don't know if this is a castle or not, but what happens is that, reading from the story now, the Ulundi had erected a massive talisman from the tower at the city's center, the great ruined totem acting as an anti-magic shield. So I don't know if Ulundin is a location of a possible castle, but it's definitely, according to my interpretation of the lore, a location of an obelisk shield that that is acting as an anti-magic shield, protecting the town from external, forces and attacks. So that's the two instances of fights or sieges that we have in the lore: Ulundin and Kainek village. But I haven't found anything tangible about castles yet.
Okay.
I'll be sure to let you know in in future stories if I.
That'd be great. Yeah, I think the take home here, the real lesson for somebody like myself who's not been interested in lore and just hasn't engaged at that level, is to keep in mind that we, like you said, they're not saying things at random. They're not just throwing out stories at random. There's not a disjointed sort of everybody write whatever they feel like. There is an overarching narrative that we're getting pieces of, and that we need to be paying attention to this so that we can, like I say, take advantage of real world opportunities just by knowing a fandom, which again is unheard of.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is absolutely mind blowing because like we discussed before, my belief is that Kainek stone will be used to enhance the properties of the earth and the fire splinter. So if you don't have all the cards in the game maxed out, and when the land phase 1 hits, you find you have plots near, some Kainek mine or the Kainek village itself. So you will be able to mine the Kainek stone. Then you better start maxing out your earth and fire splinters. I would say, these are real, as Matt says, life world opportunities to make the right choices when the land is here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be around Discord, if anyone wants to ask what should I choose I can give the lore aspect of things always, but please bear in mind that this is when I write things on Discord about lore or the land expansion, I'm always in this internal fight that this is my interpretation of things, and okay, the team knows what they're doing, but my interpretation may be misleading. So it makes sense to me, but I guess people should do their own, reading to find out if they interpret the lore the way I do, because we don't want people, waiting for Kainek stone in the land expansion only to find out that this doesn't exist, and I shouldn't have focused on the earth or fire splinter. So yeah.
Just emphasis on the lore, LORE, not the lore, LAW.
Yes.
Yeah. And on that, we're almost at the end of the timer. So anything that you've touched on or discussed that you've got more information, like the people you've mentioned, some of the websites you've mentioned, shoot me the links in the green room and I'll include those in the blog section. And as more and more information comes out on the land expansion and more lore gets released, I would definitely love to have you back on the show to share your insights on those as well. And likewise to anyone watching, as you know, we love engagement. We encourage engagement. If you have any questions, you can hit up George directly, I guess, on Discord for PMs if you want to talk to him directly, or if you've got some questions about stuff he's covered on the show, drop comments below in the comment section. And if you've looked at previous episodes, I do respond to every single comment. So we encourage your engagement, and remember too that every week the person who generates the most engagement from their comment will also receive 10% of the post rewards. So get involved, like that, become a part of the lore by participating. And any closing remarks from anyone?
I think if there's anything that you'd like to say now, George, just on behalf of Law or anything else, because I always find myself after the shows like, I should have said that. So if there's anything itching at your mind now, say your piece, you know.
Well, yes. The last thing I would like to say, if we have time, Boba Fett, I don't know how much time we have left.
We've got 1 minute 15 seconds.
I will make this very quick. The team is planning, according to recent town halls, to publish comic books and probably fiction book as well. So this is a strategy that they're planning to follow, and this is, according to me, a great marketing strategy, because these things, you know, they will pay for themselves if they sell out the comic books and the books. The expenses will be enough to cover the cost that was you know, put into creating this stuff. So things are looking great in terms of the lore. They have great plans, and I'm looking forward to it. So keep that in mind, that comic books are coming out probably, and maybe later on a fiction book, or probably a show, an animated show. So that's
Awesome.
that from what we know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on. Like,
Yes.
I've just been like, you've had my complete attention for the entire hour. It's been
Yeah.
awesome. So that's
Thank
a
you
wrap
for
up
having me.
for episode
Thank you for
23.
having me. It felt great being among you.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks, mate.
And we'll see you
Thank you.
guys on episode 24. Boba Fett, peace out.